Hi guys, in today's review we'll be looking at a Bachmann Great Western pannier tank. I believe this is a 57XX pannier tank. The reason for this is simply because Accurascale have recently announced that they are retooling, shall we say, this class of model along with the other class of pannier tanks. So in this review we'll just see if it needs retooling or not. The model in front of you, the product code is 30-076. It came out 2015, the model did. I think the tooling is a lot older than that. So this makes it era 506, and it is in the maroon London Transport livery colours. And it looks quite fetching actually. So let's see if the model does stand up to today's demands for a steam locomotive in 00. So here goes, shall we? As we start off at the front of the locomotive, as you can see the number of the locomotive on the buffer beam, which is L97. This is in the London and Transport livery. This locomotive does have sprung buffers as well. Also has a hook. The couplings either side of the locomotive are NEM couplings, I believe you call them. There's a few rivets dotted around. So move up a little bit. There's a step on the tanks either side. There is also a smoke box dart separately applied. The door doesn't open, but it's not really a bad thing. And then you also see the handrail going around the locomotive. As we move on to one of the sides of the locomotive, as you can see, the brake rigging is all applied down here, which is a nice touch there by Bachmann. We have it in a line delivery around the tanks and around the cab area. As you can see, the line is in, I think, yellow, black and yellow, something like that. We have a toolbox down here. We can see through to the other side as well. There's no workings of a cylinders inside or anything like that, it's just blank. We have some rivets down here where the wheels are on the chassis. We also have some steps either side as well, as you can see. We have some moulded details here. We have a handrail running across as well. The stuff on top, as you can see, some of it looks separately applied, most of it looks moulded, but it's still a nice looking locomotive. We have some lining around the outside of the cab. We have some lining on the chassis too. And we have some steps on the bunker as well with some handrails. As we move on to the other side of the locomotive, the only difference I can see here really, for me, I think here is the reverser here. And we also have, I think it's a brake handle there sticking out of the cab. Very nice touch there by Bachmann. That's the only difference I can really see. Most of it's the same with the ladders and the moulded bits. As we move on to the cab area, there's nothing inside painted. It's all moulded, heavily detailing moulded as well with that. Like I said before, the only thing you can see really is the handbrake, I believe it is. It's sticking out and been painted. Failing that, nothing there. I believe there's a wood effect on the flooring, but you can't see anything. It's a shame. As we move on to the back of the locomotive, as you can see next to the vacuum part we have a hook which looks to be separately applied like the front. The coupling is the same as the front, which is an NEM one. We also have sprung buffers. You can see some handrails dotted around. There's one on top of the roof. There's one on the curve of the bunker as well. As for lamp irons, we actually have 3, I think, on the back here. And then we also have some hooks, which I believe are for like buckets and stuff like that. It's a nice touch. And as you can see, if you look into the windows, you've got the grating to stop the coal going through. I don't think they're glazed or anything, but it's still a nice touch. And there's a lot of rivets dotted around on the locomotive itself. As we look down on the locomotive from a bird's eye view, start off at the chimney. The chimney you can go all the way through if you want to put a smoke generator in by the looks of it. Most of the top does look moulded, if I'm honest, but where you put the water in here, I believe they look slightly separately applied, or they have some separately applied parts to them. We have a dome, which is correct. We also have safety valves and whistles, which believe are plastic, but look like they're separately applied as well. Very nice. The whistles and safety valves are in a different colour from what I can see. As we move on to the cab roof, there's a few rivets dotted around the edge, which is nice. There's a vent which doesn't open from what I can see, and there's a handrail at the far side as well. As we move on to the end of the coal area, the coal is a nice coal load. I don't think it's removable, but it still looks pretty nice if I'm honest. And finally, as we look at the underneath of the locomotive at the chassis area, as you can see, the brake rigging is applied from the factory, which is great. All 6 wheels do have pickups, which is fantastic. There's not much to see from under here. You can just see it's the Bachmann one made in China. You can see the couplings with NEM ones. If you remove them, you can get to the screws to release the body, I believe. The screw in the centre, I think, is for the motor. I could be wrong. But overall, it's a nice looking chassis. So that's it on the tracks, guys. So next up will be the usual points and second radius test. Let's see if this Pannier tank can manage them, shall we? So here goes. Not bad, what's that? 27? It's not bad. So yeah, managed that pretty well actually for a Bachmann model. Most of my Bachmann models do struggle on second radius for some reason, but this one's perfectly fine. So next it will be some slow speed and I will find it a friend. So here it goes. It's not bad. What's that? 20? It's not bad at all. Quite smooth as well. So guys, that's the end of the review and running session. Before I give my opinion, I'll tell you what it was pulling, which was a mixture of good stuff. So we had two different brake vans. We had the Jones's Goods, or Jones's Meat Van from Dapple with the horse van next to it. It's just a little joke. And then we had a nod to the Great Western, which is the S&D van, 10-ton van, and the Hatton 6-wheeled Genesis coach in the Great Western livery, just a nod. So I bought this second hand, I think from Rails of Sheffield or Rails of Sheffield's eBay page several years ago now, and I paid around the £60 mark, which at the time I thought was a great price. Looking back at it now, it's even more of a great price. It still runs. If you're going to buy this brand new from Bachmann or a model shop that does Bachmann stuff, you're talking more 120, 125, looking at a few shops at this point in time. So most of the running was on a Gauge Master Combi on my layout, and it was around 20, 21 on the Gauge Master Combi. No issues whatsoever, no stuttering over points. It can do second radius, it can even do points as you saw. The speed looked okay actually. I don't know how it's going to come out on camera when I do the video, but it looked great for me. It looked realistic. I do understand Acura Scale are doing a suite of Great Western Pannier tanks, and I understand they're going to have all the mod cons, so flickering firebox, full cab detail, I think a detail bag as well, and different tooling options, so from chimneys to windows to cab to roof, even to the tanks. I understand they're going to be all different. And I'm a little bit worried if it's going to make this one and my second Bachmann Pannier tank a bit toy-like. I have a second one in the Railway Children's livery, and the livery looks good on that one as well as it does on this one. I'm just a bit worried if the Acura Scale is going to make this a bit toy-like. The Acura Scale price is $135, $140, depending on delivery. I am a little unsure if Bachmann will do a wrecking tactic where they will just flood the market with Pannier tanks over the next few Bachmann announcements. Who knows? The Bachmann one does need upgrading in some areas. The cab detail and flicker firebox for me is not a must. Maybe the valve gear underneath the boiler should be ready because it's just a blank space. But failing that, the livery of the model for me is crisp. The lining is great. You can make out it is a Pannier tank, the 57XX I believe. But most of the stuff on here is moulded and sort of generic, if I have that correct. The red rods do look the part as well. I'm just a little bit worried if Bachmann are going to do a wrecking tactic with the Acura Scale one, or they may upgrade this to compete with it. But as I stand here now and speak to you, this is a great model. It runs perfect, looks the job, and it's a really nice model. Just needs a few upgrades in my opinion in certain areas. That's only my opinion. Hopefully I'll see you in the next review. So please take care and goodbye.